Hello everyone, welcome back to What Is This Weapon? I'm Jonathan and this is clearly an SA80. But there's something different about it. Can you tell? You would be amazed, potentially, how many people miss what you'd expect to be obvious, or will be obvious when I tell you. There are some different features here. We have these white nylon parts, so the ejection opening cover, as it's known in British, is white translucent nylon, and we have the bolt release catch. That's also made of the same material, and it's on both sides, and it is elongated as well. And people tend to focus on those weird features, and they start looking at markings. If I put people on the spot, forgive me, all of the military visitors that I've put on the spot over the years, showing them this very gun and said, what's different about this? And they'll even shoulder it and not spot it, and I feel bad because it's left-handed. The main thing about this is it's left-handed. So just to prove it, if I put this in the shoulder, the cheek piece is on the wrong side. There's no ejection opening, there's no cocking handle, because it's all on this side. And this reflects the whole saga within a saga of what do we do about bullpups in the British Armed Forces. So back to 1971, there was, right out of the gate, they realised, let's again shoulder it this way around, cadets and others who have encountered issues, shall we say, with shooting SA80 will be getting flashbacks because the equivalent to, obviously, normally it would be right-handed and I'd be on, if you try and fire that from the left shoulder, you get a very hard steel cocking handle in the teeth. And we don't have the best dentistry in this country, so it's not a good idea. And the same would apply if I was to try to shoot this left-handed gun. But in 1971, the Enfield, the British authorities, the British Army, everyone involved in looking at what the future of small arms would be to replace the L1A1 SLR, realised that by creating a bullpup and having your ejection necessarily on one side, now today we have bullpups that can eject from either side, you are making it impossible to properly fire it from the left shoulder. So the initial solution to this proposed by Enfield was some sort of interlocking set of reinforced plates, was the wording. There is a section on this in my book on British bullpups, by the way. So a lot of it's going to be recapped here, but if you want to look it up in the book, if you have it, it is covered there. So they were going to have some sort of a Lego-style kit to convert SA80s to left-handed for, and they reckoned up to 20% of users. I think the statistic normally given is sort of 10, 12% of people are left-handers. So the armourer would configure the weapon at the point of issue, I guess. But quite quickly they went to, well, let's just make up to 20% left-handed, and then we can issue those to left-handed soldiers. So that's this era. This is what's loosely known as the B series, part of the sort of XL 64, 65 range. Totally different design. For those of you who aren't aware, well, you can see it. Completely different design. It's the only firearm that I know of that was completely redesigned halfway through development. And that's one of the issues with the SA80, frankly. We went from a more svelte AR-18 based bullpup rifle. The controls varied, but arguably the paddle being ambidextrous was preferable if we're talking about left-handed people, because you can access it from either side. Most people prefer the ergonomics of this era, although the safety did switch around over time as well. And this would have caught on kit and stuff, and foliage and things. So possibly not ideal, but it's more ergonomic, certainly. And the whole thing is lighter. Enough of that for now. But suffice to say, at this era, they're still going to issue, or make at least 20% left-handed. And of course the same applies to the LSW, because this is a family. This is a rifle and an LMG squad support weapon, essentially, as well. You'd have to have them both available. We're focusing on the rifle today. Now, the interesting thing about this is, by this stage, we still haven't come up with a left-handed lower receiver, what's called the trigger mechanism housing in SA80 speak. So you end up with this weird hybrid of a left-handed upper receiver on a standard lower receiver. And I believe that reflects a change in policy of this era. So this example is about 1983, and this policy would have been in place for at least a couple of years before that, of standard lowers and swap out the barreled uppers, or maybe like a bare bones upper where you swap out all the gas parts, the working parts, into a different body, as it's known, upper receiver and barrel assembly. So again, the armourer would configure the weapon, but not the complicated interlocking plates, not a completely left-handed or right-handed weapon, as was also considered, but instead you would end up with swap out the upper. Now the same also applied in the mid-70s era with the thing I just showed you, because that lower is also a standard semi-ambidextrous design. There is one change they had to make, which I've already pointed to, and that is the ambidextrous, as we now say, bilateral, both sides, bolt release catch, which is also extended. Now there's some confusion here, and this relates to the actual designation of this. So in my book, I identified this as an XL78E1, which seems like this is an experimental designation, one of many. That seems like an early number, and indeed Steve Raw in his very excellent book, which has some more detail than mine in many areas, by the way, so you kind of do need both if you're an aficionado of the SA80. He correctly, certainly agrees with me, that this is a left-handed equivalent of the XL85E1. So that's the rifle just before the final tweaks in 1985 that make it the L85A1. So this would be the left-handed equivalent. Now he doesn't give it a designation and says it's a left-handed XL85E1. If so, this and the LSW equivalent would be the only weapons in the whole series without their own designation for their left-handed incarnations. So I have gone with one of two spare designations from the list that Steve has in his book, XL78E1, and I think it's XL79E1 for the LSW. They were unused in his list, and I believe they have reused an earlier number for this. So it would be an XL78E1, but in the era of the XL85E1, just one of many very confusing aspects about the SA80. Regardless of what it's called, and by the way, we can't confirm that with what's on the weapon because it's not written on there. As I say, we are agreed that it's a left-handed equivalent of this 1983 vintage. We're almost there for the big time, but not quite. Individual weapon or rifle. Now he also mentions these nylon controls and he identifies them or relates them to the 1988 environmental trials of the XL85E3 and its LSW equivalent, which do indeed have white nylon ejection opening covers, but they're opaque nylon, very bright white nylon. These are dirty and yellowed over time, but they are translucent. They're a different nylon. And they do not have these long additional, ambidextrous bolt releases. So I think these are either original to the left-hander, and it makes sense because there's one either side, and the fact that they're longer and made of a different material is a little bit of a head-scratcher, and I can see why Steve went the other way with it. But I think there's something out. They're either retrofitted to these later on, and they're still using them in trials, but that would be weird because in 1985, or even before that, the decision was made, we will not issue any left-handed solution for anyone. So it would be very strange for Enfield to go back and do mods on something that's obsolete. The final kind of decider for me is and again, it agrees with Steve, is the serial number. Because this UI range serial number is bang in the range of the XL85E1. Now, it does say LH, so U, the prefix, I for individual weapon, and the serial number 235 in this case, and then LH for left hand. So maybe Steve's right. It's a little hard to say. But the relevance of this is that abandonment of consideration of the soldier, essentially. We will make everyone trained to fire from the right shoulder. Now, that had been going on for decades, centuries, sort of. You don't want to shoot a flintlock from the left shoulder if it has a right-hand lock, which they all did. As far as I know, there was no tolerance for left-handers at all in the British Army or the British Armed Forces generally, until, and I believe this is correct, the SLR, where left-handers were permitted to shoot with their natural hand and natural eye, and potentially therefore be a bit more combat effective. So this was going to be a backward step in some ways. Having said that, the Lee Enfield series, bolt on the right, never to be shot from the left shoulder, and I don't know of any instances of it being fired from the left shoulder. The Bren, although it can comfortably be fired from the left shoulder, is not designed to be in design intent, and it never was, again, in service, unless someone finds some instances of people firing round cover, because that's the other aspect to this whole left-hander thing, and why a lot of people do not like the Bullpup, for putting those working parts that ought to be up here, back here where your face is. It means, and this was encountered certainly in Afghanistan, Iraq and Afghanistan, 2001, 2003, clearing buildings in particular. Let's say I'm a left-hander, and but I don't want to expose the right side of my body to enemy fire. What do? Well, with an AR-15 or something, you would just swap shoulders temporarily and expose that much of you, or you might even change hands as well. I mean, you can change hands and do that, but that's far from ideal. So the preference is to literally just swap the butt into different shoulders. And this by then was an established sort of CQB tactic or position and hold for shooting and training. So it's kind of true to say, I think, that in 1985 when this was introduced, there were relatively few people with that level of awareness. Your UKSF are already using AR-15 pattern weapons, so they can swap shoulders if they need to. And there wasn't really the awareness that it would be an advantage to soldiers in the regular army and the territorial forces to be able to swap shoulders. But then again, back in as far as 71, we have this recognition that the left-handed soldier should be catered for. There's just not the same recognition that a right or left-handed shooter might need to swap shoulders. So what did they do when faced with only this? Well, if I stop being super awkward with the wrong side and go for this. So this, by the way, here is, just to prove my point, the XL85E1, pre-production, effectively prototype with a UI serial number. It is helpfully marked XL85E1, unlike the left-hander. Happens to have a SUSAT fitted, happens to have lost its butt plate through disintegration of the not very good polymer, which, being a museum, we have bagged up and attached to the gun. So what did they do if they needed to shoot around cover? Well, the official advice was to simply drop the butt down and look over the gun, so that it's almost like the front position for SMGs in the 80s that was popular for a while. Not ideal, because you've got no extra point of contact. You can't use the sights. You've got not even the emergency sights on the top for close quarters. So that was kind of like I would do this and just look over the top of the gun. Of course, somebody who's actually served in the British Armed Forces could show you that technique a lot better. And it's one of these things, you can train around it and it's okay. Not ideal, but okay. The ultimate solution was when the ACOG, the American ACOG sight, was adopted to replace the SA80 as an urgent operational requirement, a piggyback red dot sight was added to the top of that. And so you could much more comfortably swap shoulders and just align your eyes behind that raised up sight. So that kind of put another sticking plaster on the problem. Still not ideal, of course. So that's our left-handed SA80. Now, it's unthinkable, of course, today that you would adopt a rifle that you could not shoot from the other shoulder, whether or not you have a policy of allowing left-handers to use their natural shooting position. And that's why we see lots of different designs designed to get around that. The Tavor with swappable ejection, well, right back to the Steyr AUG with a swappable ejection as far back as 1977 or shortly thereafter. So you can get a bullpup if you want a bullpup and make it swappable for different soldiers. You still have the issue of firing from the left shoulder, so we have things like the Kel-Tec front ejection system, Desert Tech front ejection system, and the F2000, of course, famously with its very front ejection as well, to try to overcome this limitation of the bullpup. Now, with the SA80 project, replacement project underway, this is not going to be the future for that much longer. It's going to get phased out and replaced by whatever is selected, which I don't think it's too much of a crystal ball gaze to say it's probably going to be some sort of AR-15 variant or derivative, which will solve this problem. Shorter barrel as well, of course.